according to theory, according to a lot of experimental evidence with some conflicting evidence, but with a lot of experimental evidence, you only inherit them from your mother. Oh. So we can build a family tree of all the females in the world using mitochondrial DNA. It's a teeny little thing. It's only 16,000 nucleotides long. It's 1.6 kb. I've got 3,000 mitochondrial genomes from people all over the world right here on my hard drive. What I do when I'm not speaking is I'm writing computer programs and I'm analyzing this data because it's such a rich treasure trove of information for us creationists. The mitochondrial DNA allows you to build a family tree for females. This is where the mitochondrial Eve idea, the out of Africa, the African Eve, all those terms, they all come from studies on mitochondrial DNA. But like the mitochondrial DNA, the Y chromosome gives us the ability to build a family tree of all the men in the world. These two little pieces of the DNA are the bedrock of modern genetics. And these two little pieces of the DNA have allowed the evolutionists to make all these grand stories about human history. And these two little pieces of the DNA, I believe, happen to be some of the best supporting evidence for young Earth creationism. Now think of it this way. I'm Robert William Carter III. Now, guys in my family, my cousin's William Thomas Carter VI. He doesn't call himself the sixth, but he is, and he's got a son, William Thomas Carter. We don't have very unique names in my dad's side of the family. So me, my dad, my granddad, Robert William Carter, then my great-granddad, William Thomas Carter, and then William Thomas Carter. Came over from Ireland after the Civil War sometime. Don't know where, just from Ireland. So I have an Irish Y chromosome. Father to son, to son, to son, to son, to son, to son. That's really cool, isn't it? My mother's side of the family, though, from where I get my mitochondrial DNA, oh, they got great names. My mother is Virginia Eunice Torkelson. I got my mitochondria from her. Her mother was Winnie Frances Hurlbut. Her mother was Wiebrigje van der Veen. Her mother was Rinskje van der Vliet, who came from northern Holland, Frisia. The Frisians are mentioned in Beowulf. They're Vikings. So when it gets cold outside, I'm like, oh, let's go pillage. So half of me is Viking, half of me is Irish, Celtic. Oh, strange. But boy, you can tell really cool stories about history from genetics. Oh, wait a minute. We were at a funeral for my wife's grandmother a month or so ago. And we met some distant relatives, some aunt somebody or other who's a distant relative. And she's talking. You know, I'm a big genealogist. I love genealogy. I started my genealogy after my first genetics class in college, 1990. I've been working on it all this time. Well, we're just this big crowd of people, and I heard the word Cherokee Indian. And my ears went ding, 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 woo! And I went over to this lady and said, what did you just say? She goes, oh, this lady was a Cherokee Indian. And I'm like, that lady, I'm putting it in the family tree. She was? Yeah. Well, my wife's mother's mother was a Cherokee Indian. Where did mitochondria come from? Only the mother. So my little Teutonic warriors have Cherokee DNA. How would you ever have known that? I would never have guessed. That's really cool. It says my son has my Y chromosome. None of my children have my mitochondrial DNA, but they all have Cherokee Indian mitochondria. Okay, so let's make some predictions on all this stuff. How many Y chromosomes were in the founding human population after the flood? Nope. 1. Because Noah passed on the same Y chromosome to all 3 of his sons. If there was a mutation, one of the sons could have had something different. All 3 of them could have had something different. There are several mutations, but generally 1. What does that tell us about the diversity of men? We can take a poll of our wives. They'll all say, oh, they're all the same. How many mitochondrial DNAs were in the founding human population? 3. because from Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the whole earth was populated. Now, what if we look out there and we find 4? What if Noah's wife had daughters after the flood? Okay, twist my arm. I'm not going to lose my faith if we find 4. Guess how many we find? 3. Not 10,000. How many X chromosomes were on the ark? Well, it depends on how many X chromosomes Noah's wife passed on to the 3 sons. There's a 25% chance she passed on only 1 to all 3 of them, and on and on and on. So it's probably about 8 X chromosomes, maybe as few as 7, maybe as many as 9 if Noah had a daughter after the flood. But probably 8. That's a lot of diversity you can have inside 8 X chromosomes. So essentially, the X chromosomes could have captured a huge, maybe even almost all of the mutations that occurred in the 10 generations from creation to the flood. And since then, there have been several more generations, more mutations have cropped up. Well, does this all fit the evidence? And the answer is absolutely. And this is one of the most exciting things I've ever seen in my life. Y chromosomes are almost identical across